not the place to skateboard. This was about 10 years ago when I was a manager of a video game store. We were right next door to a place that sold hair care products in a box mall setup. We would have an issue with the local school kids skateboarding on the sidewalk in front of our store. Even though there was a skate park about 3 blocks away, a few times a kid would not be paying attention and would run into an elderly lady leaving the neighbor's store. The worst one, the poor lady was knocked over and broke her wrist and had bruising on the side of her face. Her head hit the ground pretty hard. The neighbor's store manager and I talked and we agreed to ask kids to stop skateboarding the second we saw it. We would also let them know about the skate park. 99% understood and would go to the park, but there is a story of the 1%. I was putting out stock on a quiet morning when I saw a kid go whizzing by on his skateboard. I stopped and watched for a minute to see if he was passing by or not. Sure enough, he's going back and forth. I popped out at the front door and advised him about the skate park, and we don't allow skateboarding on the sidewalk due to accidents. He shrugs me off and walks away. 10 minutes later, he was back with his friends. I advised them again. They shrugged me off. I got a call from the neighbor store manager. She said she told them the same thing, but they told her to fuck off. I then went to the front door as one of my regulars was coming in. I told the regular I would be a moment. He didn't care. I stopped one of the kids again and told him he can't skateboard here. Same spiel as always. Due to some accidents, we don't allow skateboarding here. You're going to have to leave. There is a skate park 3 blocks north. Kid shrugs at me and walks back to his buddies. I go back to my front counter because the regular was ready to buy his game. We finish the transaction and he walks to the front door. I see him stop at the door and pause for a minute. My immediate thought was he was watching for the kids and didn't want to get hit. He then whips the door open but doesn't go through and I hear this loud bang. He turns to me and says, "Hey Rob, you're right, accidents do happen when you skateboard in front of your store," and then proceeds to walk out. I grab some paper towel and walk to the door. The kid was laying on the ground, crying and nose bleeding all over his shirt. I handed him a piece of paper towel and said, "You guys should go to the skate park." I then wiped the grease stain left on my door and went back to work. Never saw those kids again. Customers get trapped in the store because the closing announcements didn't apply to them, I guess. I'm a cashier at a shop in the UK that sells clothing and home goods. I tend to cover a lot of closing shifts and a lot of the time I get to do announcements to let customers know the store is closing. At 7:45, 7:50 and 7:55 I say roughly, "This is a customer announcement, the time in shop is X and we are closing in Y minutes. Can all remaining customers please make their way to the checkouts so that we can finalize your purchases before we close? Thank you." And at 8 the announcement goes, "The time in shop is 8 o'clock and we are now closed. Can any remaining customers please make their way to the checkout so we can finalize your purchases?" Basically, if you're in the shop after 7:45, it's pretty hard to miss the fact that we are in the process of closing up. On the day this incident occurred, all the shop floor colleagues got to leave right on the dot of 8 because they would finish all the tasks for the night. So after we closed, there were only 3 of us in the shop. Me, my supervisor on checkouts, and my colleague M, who was acting as the manager on shift. After I did the last closing announcement, we waited a couple of minutes in case any more customers appeared, finished cashing up the tills, and then manager locked the shop and went to the cash office while S and I went to the warehouse to do some jobs there. By this point, we had been closed for about 5 to 10 minutes. S and I have been in the warehouse for a couple of minutes sorting out returns when suddenly the warehouse door, which doesn't lock so people can get in and out easily with heavy cages, flies open. And a customer accompanied by her 8-year-old son pokes her head in. I'm like, hello? Because frankly, my brain is refusing to process this situation a little bit. And the customer, honestly less stressed than I would be in the situation, goes, "Can somebody let us out, please?" I call over to S, who is further back in the warehouse, and she asks me to call M, who has the keys and can let them out. The only phone that the cashiers have access to is at the checkouts on the other side of the shop, and I don't really want the customer to wander off again. So I go, "Okay, if you just follow me over to the checkouts, I'm going to call my manager on shift so that she can let you out." And this customer's face lights up and she goes, "Oh, are the tills still open?" Please bear in mind, it is 10 minutes after closing. This woman is actively trapped in the store. The shutters are down. There has been nobody on the shop floor, let alone at the checkouts, for several minutes. She had to go into an employees only area to get help, and now she thinks the checkouts are open and she can buy something. At this point, I feel no obligations to be polite, and I'm honestly also just baffled, so I go, no. There were actually several announcements letting you know the store was closing. Oh, I know, she says, and at this point I feel such a boiling rage overtake me that all I can do without getting myself in trouble is shut up and walk over to the phone. The story wraps up pretty quickly after that. I call M, whose verbatim response to, "Hi, there is some customers stuck in the store," is, "Oh, for fuck's sake." M lets them out, but not without also locking herself out of the cash office because she didn't bring those keys out with her in the rush to let these customers out. And I lie awake at night wondering how on earth I can make "we are closed, either come and pay now or get out of the store" into a polite and professional closing announcement for future use. I told you that you do sell them here. I used to work at a medium department store popular for its overpriced furniture, imported foreign food and candy, and wine selection. Our stores tend to attract a lot of "the customer is always right" types because most items are just on the cusp of high-end retail. A customer walks in and wanders around the snack section for a while before flagging me down. Customer: "Yes, I'm looking for these chocolate Italian bears." Me: "I'm sorry, I've never heard of anything like that here." I should point out that I've worked at this particular location for 5 years and was the head of the gourmet department, so I did all the inventory and stocking by myself. I also have a huge sweet tooth, so if something new comes in, I don't miss it. Customer: No, I bought it here last Christmas. I know you carry them. They are little chocolate bears in clear cellophane wrapping." I ask her if she can remember any part of the name and she stumps, but insists they are here. I'm thinking it must be a Christmas exclusive item, so I go to our Italian aisle in Christmas and start looking around, and then back to our regular chocolate aisle. I suggest a few similar Italian chocolates. Maybe she just meant there was a bear on the package because Basie does have a polar bear on some of their boxes, and that's Italian? After 30 minutes, I give up and try to search keywords into our AS400 system. For those of you who were blessed to never deal with this system, it's an archaic application used for inventory, but you have to spell things exactly in order or the system either spits out 400 retired SKUs or nothing at all. The customer is starting to get irate that I'm trying to find the item in the computer, and I can tell my actions of trying to go above and beyond are just annoying her because it doesn't look like I'm physically doing anything. So I finally just tell her that it doesn't look like that particular item is in stock anymore. She leaves back to the chocolate section, and not even 5 minutes later comes stomping back to the register waving a white and red box in the air. "I found it! I told you that you do carry it," she says in this sing-song smug as fuck voice. I look at the box and reply, "Madam, those aren't chocolate bears. They are happy hippos, and they are German." As much as I would love to tell you that she saw the error of her ways and apologized, she instead says, "Well, you should have known what I meant."